At the border itself, migrant crossings remain a constant.
Yeah, the Tucson sector currently leads all 9 southern border sectors in total apprehensions with more than 300,000.
Our Adam Klepp went to Sassabee, where migrants were waiting for their chance to ask for asylum here in the U.S.
Volunteers like Andy Winter are often the first faces migrants see after crossing the border. 2 migrant families from Mexico are here, and they both have young children. They're waiting for Border Patrol to come and apprehend them at this makeshift camp along the border wall. And Andy begins to make them a warm meal.
If it was me in their situation, I would hope someone would show up and make me soup. You know, there's sometimes families here who were traveling and hadn't had food or water for 40 hours or more. And the parents had been giving whatever food and water they had to the kids the whole time. And so they're in really rough shape, but the same thing, the first water you give them, the first thing you do is give it to their kids.
¿Por qué te fuiste a México?
Por miedo, o sea, no quiero regresar, tengo miedo por mis niñas, que mis hijas vayan a una escuela y yo no tenga ese miedo a que mi hija ya no regrese.
I hope I never have to flee for my life. And if I do, I hope there's people to greet me wherever I go. All of that is in these simple little cups of soup.
Reporting in Sassabee, Adam Klepp, KGUN 9.
Well, in Tucson, migrants stay at local hotels paid for with federal aid money before going on to their final destinations. But to get to the airport, some call a cab. Our Adam Klepp rode along with a longtime Tucson cab driver who now finds many of his paying customers are migrants who just crossed the border.
What's going on?
Oh, hi.
How are you?
Good.
Jesus Poblete has been driving his cab around Tucson.
Well, I've been in the business for 10 years.
But in the last year,
Va para el aeropuerto, mijo.
migrants have become some of his main customers. He takes them to the airport. These 2 migrants in the back seat are from Ecuador. They crossed the border just days ago.
We thank God we are here because we feel safe now.
At the airport, Poblete turns from a cab driver into a travel agent,
Y este es su transborde.
helping the migrants access their plane tickets and get on their way.
I never used to get off, but I found the need that I had to help somebody because they asked me for help. And again, it's not a crime to help them, so I just do it.
The migrant heads to security,
You see, you're in this country.
and we're back in the cab on the way to pick up more customers. Poblete says from the back seat, migrants tell him both sides of the border story.
I've heard, basically that they've been extorted in their country, and that there's been problems and violence and such things like that. But I've also heard the other side, which I can't ignore also, where they make up stories at the border so the Border Patrol can sign them up as refugees.
And at the hotel, the process repeats itself. 2 more migrants are in the back seat. Poblete helps them at the airport,
Y lo mismo va a sacar él su boleto. Sí, venga.
and they head on their way. A process that won't end anytime soon as the Tucson sector continues to lead the border in total migrant apprehensions.
If need be.
Reporting in Tucson, Adam Klepp, KGUN 9.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Pat Paris.
And I'm Heidi Alaga. We're following the border crisis beyond our southern border in Arizona.
Yeah, after the release, migrants travel to cities all across the country. KGUN 9's Adam Klepp reports from Chicago, where hundreds of migrants are awaiting placement in the city's shelters.
These are the city's warming buses. They were being used for public transportation. Now they've been turned into makeshift migrant shelters as the migrants themselves tell me they've been living and sleeping on those buses for days. In the shadow of the city's tallest building, migrants wait on the streets to be placed in shelters. Buses provided by Chicago are the only refuge from the freezing temperatures.
Right now, the situation, the process to the immigration, it's not good.
Sometimes nonprofits come by to give out water and winter clothes. Michael, a migrant from Costa Rica, says he's been sleeping on the buses for 3 days, sending me this video showing what it's like every night, saying this is not what he and other migrants expected to find in America. Did you think it would be like this when you got here?
No, never in the life.
While Michael is by himself, others have come with their entire families.
They say there is nothing. The shelters are full. I am desperate because I've been here for 6 days with my 3 small children.
As the migrant situations worsen, organizations like the Chicago Food Depository have been stepping in to help. Jim Conwell gives me a tour of their warehouse.
So it's even bigger than what you see here today.
Where every day, he says, over 300,000 pounds of food leaves to get delivered across Chicago.
We believe that food is a human right, and no one in our community should go without food.
Now the migrants have become a big part of that community. Conwell says asylum seekers are 10% of their service base. With increased state and city funding, they've been able to keep up with the increasing demand.
We haven't had to sacrifice or reduce our response for longtime Chicagoans who need food assistance because we're also responding to the needs of new arrivals. We've been able to do both.
But back on the streets, it's clear much more than food is needed to help. The city has now spent over $150 million supporting migrants. Michael tells me he's not sure how much longer he'll be welcome.
The people don't like it, the immigrant, and I know that. But bro, me and everybody, I have a dream, you know? The best auction, the best life, but this is so hard.
According to the city, over 30,000 migrants have arrived in Chicago since 2022. And as of January, over 500 of them are waiting in the city's police stations, airports, and warming buses for placement in a shelter. Reporting in Chicago, Adam Klepp, KGUN 9.
And since Adam was in Chicago last week, Texas has paused sending more buses due to weather. You can watch the full interviews with the 2 migrants on KGUN9.com.
Yeah, as for those migrants warming in the buses there in Chicago, city workers do monitor those buses to keep them safe. All right.